let's get to some more sleepers. Dave gave you Isaiah McKenzie. We got to talk about James Robinson. He's on Dave's sleepers list. His ADP right now, RB 37 on Fantasy Pros, 108th overall. And I thought, well, maybe James Robinson over the last week, I'll look at the NFC average draft position. I like to do that because you can set a date range. Let's see what it is over the last week. It's RB 47. So even later for James Robinson, 126th overall. So I can say with confidence right now, he is not a top 100 pick in most drafts. And maybe people want to just see him play. I don't know. But really, what an opportunity to get starting running back. So, Dave, make the case for James Robinson as a sleeper.
You kind of just did for me. We know that in the past, he's been a fantastic fantasy running back. He was top 10 in PPR points per game 2 years ago as a rookie. You want to talk about a sleeper? He was the ultimate sleeper 2 seasons ago. And last year, with all the issues that Jacksonville had, he still was 25th in PPR points per game. And I think if he had a regular amount of touches from week to week and a good offense, he'd finish higher than 25th. It's a different look now for him. He's coming off of an Achilles injury, and that's something that could be impacting Cam Akers. And we don't know how it's impacting James Robinson, but I think the Jaguars are slowly bringing him along. He hasn't had any contact in practice yet. He didn't play in the first preseason game, but he's starting to work more in 7-on-7 drills. And I think they're trying to time it up where he's practicing with the full starters in 11-on-11 drills and maybe even getting into the preseason before week 1. And I don't see ETN as a workhorse back. I don't think the Jaguars necessarily see him that way either. They need somebody to help ETN, and they need to have a rushing presence. And I think Robinson right now on their roster is the best guy to give him that. And so taking the chance on him, what'd you say? He was the 40th running back off the board? 47th running back off the board?
37th on Fantasy Pros and 47th in the last week.
I mean, this is such a golden opportunity for you to take Robinson round 9 plus, and he could end up performing like a round 4 pick.
I just don't. I don't disagree with anything Dave said. I don't think it's possible for James Robinson to do these things and Travis Etienne to be a good pick where he is being drafted.
Yeah,
I don't think Jacksonville is going to have 2 top 25 running backs.
I've been saying that. I mean, I've been mostly bringing that up with Jamie because Jamie just loves ETN, he likes him in round 3.
There's a couple of things from that game. ETN didn't look as good on his target as I was hoping he would. And he does bounce the ball outside very, very quickly. And I just wonder, like, one of the reports was that Robinson, they were hoping could play more on passing downs because of pass protection. And then I wonder in short yardage if Robinson's the guy.
Oh, he's got to be.
You would think so.
I mean, you take one look at Travis Etienne, and he doesn't look like a football player even when he's got pads on.
Coaches don't usually like guys who bounce it out at the goal line very much. No. So it's hard for me to see if Travis Etienne's not like doing all of the passing game work and he's not the short yardage back, how he's a good pick in round 4.
I can try to answer that. Look at the other targets in Jacksonville and think about how ETN's speed makes him an absolute game breaker. And I would imagine that both Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson would agree that finding ways to get him the ball more than just 4 or 5 times a game through the air is something that they can work with and something that they want to do. It's almost like I almost wonder if they see him as an Alvin Kamara type as a pass catcher. And there isn't, Christian Kirk has never been a number 1 guy. We'll see how he does. They've got Zay Jones, Laquan Treadwell, and Evan Ingram. It sounds like a bunch of receivers from like fantasy losers past. ETN could be first on the team in targets, much less second. That's how those guys could both be top 25.
I'm not drafting Trevor Lawrence if that's the case. But
I think he's a sleeper too.
I know, but he can't be throwing to James Robinson more than anyone. That would be bad. But I mean, look, that I find that question, Heath, like how is he good in the 4th round, to be much harder in non or half PPR. Full PPR, you could at least make the case where he's just going to have so many catches. But in non-PPR, forget it unless he wins the job. I guess you could say he's a former first-round pick. James Robinson was not even drafted. And,
I think
who cares?
More
I
athletic
don't
for
care
sure
either.
than James Robinson.
Robinson's
James Robinson's
been good.
a professional running back.
He's been good. He really has. He was a top 8 running back in 2020 as a rookie, and per game top 8 as well. Last year, he had a couple of games where he played a combined 19 snaps. But if you took those games out, he was on pace for 1,331 total yards, 43 catches, 11 touchdowns. So when he was actually used, James Robinson was really good. So I think we would all agree. Great sleeper, James Robinson, right?
Yeah, I do. I love him.
As long as he can get back to healthy.
Are you taking Isaiah Pacheco or James Robinson?
Robinson.
I'm pretty sure. I need to check that. I'm Pacheco that. Yeah, I have Robinson a round ahead of Pacheco, but I still have Robinson in the round 10 range.
Let me just say this. If Robinson were healthy and participating in every aspect of practice, where would you have him ranked?
Oh, probably around 6, but
right.
Like
you're getting a round 6 player potentially in round 9 or 10.
I think, and somebody brought this up on Twitter, and maybe not the best of ways, but like the difference between the way we talk about Cam Akers and James Robinson, like there's a little hashing out that needs to be done there.
You're right, because we've seen good efficiency from Robinson.
They're both in the Achilles club.
Well, and Akers was really
rushed
pretty
back
bad when he came back.
Rushed back, looked bad, hasn't been great since.
But has had far longer to recover than Robinson has.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, he tore his in.
I mean, technically, Robinson's still recovering.
When did he tear his Achilles?
Right before training camp.
Yeah.
And
July.
Robinson played 14 games last year.
Right.
Okay,
So Robinson's on. I'm saying Akers now has had far longer than Robinson, not Akers had before.
Oh, okay.
Of course. Yeah. All right. So let's go. Dave, I'm going to finish up with your running backs here, and we'll go kind of quick, and then you can do all your wide receivers as well. But you've got Isaiah Pacheco, Zamir White of the Raiders, Ty Montgomery of the Patriots, and Trey Sermon of the 49ers. So Pacheco for the Chiefs, Zamir White for the Raiders, Ty Montgomery for the Patriots, Trey Sermon for the Niners.
Pacheco was the second running back up for Kansas City in their preseason game against Chicago. The stats weren't good. I still like how he played. He was quick, both off the snap and into routes, caught a ball, turned upfield, took a hit, stayed balanced, gained 5 yards after the play. Huge riser in camp. Didn't play with the second. He played a little bit, I think, on the second drive, but didn't play into the second quarter. Was ahead of Ronald Jones, was ahead of Jerick McKinnon. Gives the Chiefs an option if they get sick of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You can still take him late. People who aren't paying attention to fantasy like you guys are who are listening don't even know who Isaiah Pacheco is. I think he's absolutely got the profile of a sleeper that's worth taking in like round 10, in that same range where I would take George Pickens. Pacheco is there for me. Ty Montgomery, I think, is the leader to be the passing downs back for New England, even though he prominently said that Ramondre Stevenson was getting that work in the 2-minute offense. We'll see. Montgomery's never been great, but if he's got the James White role, that's a ticket to 60 catches over the course of a season. He's a PPR only sleeper. Trey Sermon made my list because I went to watch the 49ers game, and I started with Tyrion Davis-Price because he's the rookie and always excited to see what the rookies could do. And I thought Davis-Price looked okay. Trey Sermon looked better, and Trey Sermon was playing ahead of him. There's been talk that he's been a good passing downs back for San Francisco. I'm kind of intrigued by Trey Sermon, and I think a lot of people will want nothing to do with him. And we know that Elijah Mitchell is already banged up. He had 5 injuries last year, et cetera. And Jeff Wilson, I don't know if he's anything more than just a guy. Sermon could elevate himself. He's someone I'm taking late in drafts. And then Zamir White.
What did you make of the fact that Trey Sermon played and Jeff Wilson didn't in the preseason?
That's fine. I think Trey Sermon's got a lot of ground to catch up in Kyle Shanahan's mind to earn a prominent role. And so they're seeing what he can do.
I don't know who to target. And then all 3 backup running backs have very similar ADPs over recently.
Right. Everybody's kind of taking their shot.
They're all cheap though.
But I think like the Wilson thing made me think more of the Brandon Bolden thing with the Raiders. Like they know what they have in Jeff Wilson.
Right.
Jeff Wilson himself has had a hard time staying healthy, and he's older. They don't need to see Jeff Wilson in training camp. They need to see Sermon and TDP. And I will say there's just a little more steam on the Ramondre Stevenson pass catching train, because we know Bill Belichick only tells the truth. Ramondre has done a real good job improving his pass game skills. Emphasize that he likes what he's seen from Stevenson as a pass protector in year 2.
Good.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, that is big. And I mean, if Damian Harris gets traded or gets hurt,
well,
you want to talk about a guy you can draft in the middle rounds and have value of it's like a 3rd round pick.
If their run game split is the same as it was in the second half of last year, and Stevenson takes the James White role, then it's Stevenson over Harris by a mile.
Yes, no question.
Yep, that's pretty significant, because actually when Bill Belichick calls out a player for doing well, that it does hold a lot of weight, doesn't it? That's not Pete Carroll saying it.
Well, he did it earlier this August. I shouldn't say this year, this month, with Mac Jones. And Mac Jones started training camp looking good, and then everything kind of bottomed out because they decided to change things up in New England's offense.
I think that's different, though, because this is telling us about, I mean, we know Mac Jones is a starting quarterback. This is telling us about a very important role in the Patriots offense that Ramondre Stevenson is definitely making progress toward gaining, or at least being a part of. And Damian Harris isn't going to be their 3rd down back. But all right, anyway.
Is anybody taking him in round 7 right now?
8.
Stevenson?
Yeah.
No, but I will be moving him up.
Me too.
Round 8 range, right in the Rashad Penny, Ken Walker range.
I think Damian Harris is just not going to be on any of my teams unless it's non-PPR. But there's just not a lot going for Damian Harris unless he just gets 70% of the carry.
Unless he gets traded to the Rams, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't dislike him in half PPR as long as he's being drafted where he is in PPR. Does that make sense?
Which is
like round 7, 8.
Yeah.
69th overall. So the end of round 6.
So that doesn't go that high in our drafts, but yes.
Damian